Hi everyone. A couple times a week on our Insta Lives, we ask for your sleep questions. We choose them and we answer them in a video. Is that the question? Today I'm going to be answering your question. Why does my 3.5-month-old baby self-settle at night but is unsettled for her naps? So let's talk about your 3.5-month-old baby. At this age, ideally, you would want to have your baby in some kind of predictable pattern to their day, which would hopefully consist of 3 naps. A morning nap, a lunchtime sleep, and a late afternoon nap. It is our recommendation that the lunchtime sleep is quite a nice long sleep of a couple hours. Then there is a shorter sleep in the morning and another shorter nap in the late afternoon to get your little one through to bedtime. If your little one is settling themselves to sleep really well at night, that is awesome. And hopefully it also means that your little one is sleeping quite a consolidated night. So they might be sleeping pretty well overnight. But if you're then saying that they're really fussy and unsettled for their naps, there are a couple reasons why. So firstly, naps at around this age, between 3 and 6 months, can be very hard to achieve. There's a big developmental leap that happens around 4 months, famously called the 4-month sleep regression. That messes with your child's brain and the way that sleep works for your little one. So it could be that starting to come into play. What that looks like is your little one might start catnapping a lot more during the day, only sleeping for 1 sleep cycle at a time, so that's 35 to 45 minutes in a go, and not going back to sleep for longer. Self-settling is quite important from this change onwards, because however your child is used to going to sleep is the same method that they're going to need when they surface between sleep cycles in order to go back to sleep and nap for longer. So if you're rocking your baby to sleep at the start of their naps and they are going to sleep for that 1 sleep cycle, they naturally rouse out of the sleep cycle. If you're not still rocking them, they don't know how to go back to sleep. So that can be a problem at around this age, because babies are become really dependent on their sleep associations. So on the things that they associate with going to sleep. Looking at some different ways to gradually guide your little one to be able to fall asleep independently is a really good option, and there are a load of different methods out there. We have a lot of different methods ourselves within our own sleep programs if you're interested in that. But if you're saying that your baby is soothing themselves to sleep really well at night, then it sounds to me as though your baby perhaps already has this skill, which is really good, and some other factors might be at play during the day. So if your baby can already self-settle, and this would really be applicable for a baby of any age, if they can self-settle, and you've seen them do it, you pop your baby into bed by themselves and they drift off to sleep much like we would as adults, that's self-settling, that's awesome. If you've seen that your baby can do that, then they have that skill. So what you're looking at then is that there's something else going on in their day. Now at 3 months, what we tend to forget is our baby's not a brand new newborn baby anymore. And so we forget to adapt their nap structure, we forget to adapt their awake windows. And so sometimes we find ourselves keeping our babies in this very newborn routine. And I'm talking about awake windows of an hour, and getting your baby up, feeding them, swaddling them, and putting them back down to sleep, and expecting them to fall asleep easily and sleep for quite a while. That's not going to happen anymore, because your baby has been changing and developing, and they need more awake time and more stimulation. So unless your baby's getting, at 3 months, a couple of hours of awake time between sleeps, they're not going to be getting enough time for being awake and for stimulation to then settle easily to sleep and nap well. So the first thing I would look at is their awake windows. You want to be stretching out toward an hour 45, 2 hours of being awake between naps at this age. And that should make your child good and ready for bed when it comes time to put them down, and they'll go off to sleep a lot easier. If they're not tired enough, then they're going to be fighting because they just don't want to go to sleep. On the flip side of that, make sure that they're not being kept awake for longer than that, because that is also going to lead to them fussing at sleep time and And even if your baby can self-settle but they're overtired, then their self-settling abilities are going to go out the window because they're fighting against a lot of overtiredness. So making their awake windows really age appropriate is the best place to start. Also, looking at some factors in your little one's sleep environment is a really easy way to help get better naps happening too. So I would be looking at making their room really dark for their daytime sleeps, and maybe the reason your baby's sleeping so well at night is because it is dark. You're helping the biological sleep process. We can replicate that in the day too by making our children's room dark. Another thing you could be doing is introducing white noise for their daytime sleeps. It just helps them get in the zone for sleep, helps block out any other sounds that might be going on in the house that could wake or disrupt your baby trying to go to sleep. So listen, I would be looking at stretching out those awake times, getting really age-appropriate awake times of close to 2 hours happening. Then swaddle your baby unless they're rolling. Put them in their bed in a very dark room and turn up the white noise. And if your baby can already put themselves to sleep, give them a chance under those conditions and see how you get on. That's kind of our recipe for success really, especially when it comes to nap times, is get your awake times right and get your sleep environment right. And very often naps will fall into place as a result. So I hope that's helped for a 3.5-month-old baby who's sort of settling well at night but not so much during the day. If anyone's got any more questions about naps or night sleep, make sure you check out all of the articles on our website. The link is below. We've also got a ton of videos here on our YouTube channel about just every sleep topic under the sun. Keep an eye on our Insta stories and ask us your baby sleep questions on there. And it could be your question that we choose for our next video. Thanks for watching.